So let's talk about what's going on in the chapter. So we unfortunately don't have a title, but we do know that the solo cover is of Ryu, which is the Shinki lookalike Shinju. So that was a cool image. I did talk about that and post that in my previous video where I had some panels. So if you're more of that kind of person, just go back to my previous video if you preferred that. But if you prefer this format where you want to hear the details, stick around for this. Whatever you guys prefer. But the chapter kicks off with a flashback in the Hidden Sand Village. And I'm very glad this is happening. This is something I was hoping for, and I did mention this last month as well. I'm glad they're actually showing some of this. So we start off with Gaara pretty much looking a little bit beat down, I'm not going to lie. And he has Shinki and his team trapped in sand to prevent them from engaging in this fight. Gaara says that he's going to carry them to the entrance and is ordering them to run, and that's an order as Kazekage, because Shinki especially is being very persistent here to help Gaara in this fight. He sees him in trouble and knows that he wants to help. I mean, that is his dad, so that makes sense. But Gaara has them trapped in his sand to prevent them from, doing anything too reckless. But what's going on exactly over here is one of the Shinjus has invaded. And this time we get to see Matsuri in action. And pretty much what's going on is she's there with some claw grimes, and she's saying that she's only there following the trail of Boruto and his associates. So that gets me thinking, is Gaara or Shinki even really a target here for her? Because she's saying she's following Boruto and her associates and Boruto's associates' trails, probably referring to Koji. But this is kind of making me think that she didn't come for a target, but later on with what happens with Shinki, I think that part of me thinks that she did, but let's keep going on. So Gaara says that he refuses to let these kids die, and that he'll exchange his life for them if need be. And now as Gaara is being charged in at by the claw grimes, Shinki is able to break out, and he uses an iron sand sealing jutsu on Gaara, which actually ends up saving him. And I want to talk about this a little bit in detail for sure. This action of saving Gaara I really, really like, because this, in a sense, parallels what happened with Naruto too, with the whole Kawaki thing. Kawaki sealed away Naruto pretty much for the protection purpose of, because he saw the Otsutsuki as a threat and saw Boruto as like the main threat, even though I'm sure us as the readers might think different than what Kawaki does. But the pretty much the same thing is happening over here though with Shinki. And Shinki actually ends up saving his dad's life too. So cool little parallel over here in that regard to that, because that started making me think, okay, maybe this is how they sidelined Gaara for a while too, maybe even perhaps to the end. I mean, I don't know for sure, but maybe Gaara and Naruto are sidelined both now for a while. But as he's being sealed, he ends up telling Shinki to stop, but Shinki responds with, the Sand Village still needs him. And Matsuri comes in and says that he should have listened to his father, and then a claw grime comes and bites Shinki. Shinki's last words are to one of his teammates named Yodo, who is being told by Shinki as a last request at the moment to inform Kankuro of everything that happened here, especially about Gaara, which makes sense because he is the Kazekage. So Yodo, and I honestly forgot the other dude's name, he gets out too, but both of them end up escaping, and then Kankuro did get the news, of course, because that's how Shikamaru is being alerted right now. But in general, it seems like Shinki paid a price to protect his dad, but at least Gaara is safe because He is sealed now, so Matsuri cannot reach him anymore to make him into a tree, which seems like that could have also been a purpose that Matsuri had here. Maybe there's a chance that she stumbled onto Gaara while looking for Boruto and associates, like she said, and maybe they found Gaara to be strong, so she ended up, uh, wanting to make him into a tree because she did have the claw grimes there, and that would have happened if Shinki did not do what he did. But as a result, Shinki has now become a tree instead. And apparently this sealing jutsu remains as long as the user is alive. And that's how Gaara is pretty much safe, and this is also a good way to write them, not having Gaara get killed off here, because we know power-wise, sadly, even as a Kage now, he does not stack up against the Shinju beings. So Matsuri also ends up saying it'd be interesting to have a guy like Shinki join them. She doesn't really mean that in a way of where she's impressed per se by Shinki as a character, but I think she's referring to his Iron Sand abilities, making Shinki a good possible candidate to join. We are now back to the present, where Kankuro is explaining the situation to Shikamaru. And by the way, this is around page 12, page 13, so the flashback was about 11, 12 pages. Not bad. I do wish we had a little more, but I'm not complaining because this is a monthly manga and they don't really have that time luxury. I'm just happy that we did get to do the flashback to begin with. If I would have changed anything, I would have just wanted a little bit more Gaara on offense, perhaps, but maybe that's something the anime can add on whenever they get to it. So, yeah, we're back to the present where Kankuro is explaining the situation to Shikamaru. Kankuro says that Gaara cannot be saved until Shinki is, and that's because since he's the only one who can undo that seal. Kankuro says that he wants to first return Shinki to his original state. Shikamaru responds by asking if they had spotted anyone nearby with the same chakra. Kankuro responds to this by saying no, and Shikamaru says to him pretty much that they'll share any info on the tree symptoms once they learn more. Kankuro tells Shikamaru to lay down for now and stay safe. So pretty much just saying he doesn't want him getting too involved and too worried about the situation. More like Kankuro wants to handle it with the sand kind of thing. But we know, especially based off of how strong the Shinju are, that it's very likely that Konoha is going to have to get involved in this situation to help the sand out. So Shikamaru tells Sarada and Sumire that if Boruto comes in contact with them, to tell him to meet with him, and that he only wants to do that to gain some info. A toad is also listening into this conversation, so that's probably Kashin Koji, which unfortunately we did not see him in this chapter, but we at least know he's keeping up with the info. We then cut over to the Shinjus, and Ryu is given his name by Jura, which did also happen at the end of the last chapter, and he says to wait a minute, and he basically ends up exposing Code spying on them with his iron sand. So what happens there is Jura is telling Ryu now to let him go, and says that they actually owe Code some gratitude in a way. But I do want to also get back to what Ryu did. That's a pretty impressive way to, show off in front of your fellow Shinjus, right? Just go ahead and bring out an ability and catch somebody who's spying on you that the other Shinjus apparently did not catch on to. So that's how you make a Shinju look good, especially in front of the other ones. So Ryu's already being useful. And Code is kind of getting bailed out because Ryu wanted to kill Code. But Jura says to calm down and that they owe Code some gratitude in some way. And Jura basically asks Code then what he's doing there and that if he's of any use to them. Code ends up asking what do they intend to do and if they plan on eating the Otsutsukis. Jura says that it will happen eventually, but that other matters are being prioritized right now. Jura says that Code can kill Boruto if he wants because Kawaki is enough food for them. So pretty much the same thing as we know from when Jura was just attacking the village, that Jura wants Boruto out of the way because they only really need one Otsutsuki, and Boruto is seen as the bigger threat. Code says that at the end of the day, the one who eats the chakra fruit and becomes the new Otsutsuki will be him. Pretty much that he will be the one to eat the chakra fruit and carry on Ishiki's will. Jura responds to this by saying, really, what if we ate it instead? So, kinda in like a curious, threatening kind of manner. Code says to that pretty much that if you're saying that, that's a declaration of intent, and he proceeds to try attacking Jura. And this backfires on Code big time. And yet another L gets added to Code's long list of L's that's been going on for a while. But his arm comes out at Jura, who immediately responds to this by splitting it apart with his Rinnegan eye beam. And we've seen that attack before. We saw what it did to Boruto, so imagine that at close range. But that takes out Code's right arm. Not completely, but he basically lost his hand and, the wrist portion of his arm, and now is screaming in pain. Jura, meanwhile, is saying that he's thankful to Code for giving them freedom to think, and that now he's enjoying exciting days. So Jura is honestly just living life, just kind of going through a checklist of objectives in a way. Just kind of figuring out how emotions and stuff work. But Code, on the other hand, I kind of find it funny that Jura says all this right now while Code is literally there screaming in pain with his arm off. So Jura also says that Code's life is lacking excitement, and says that he'll give him an assignment, which happens to be to find Boruto and the guy allied with them, and then to kill them. So pretty much to find Boruto and Koji and eliminate them. In return, Jura promises to give Code the chakra fruit. Now this is also, I feel like, an interesting thing character-wise. Is Jura really going to be one of those characters that's actually going to be I guess a Shinju of his word? I don't know myself if I believe that he would really give Code the chakra fruit, but let's be honest, Code is not gonna take out Boruto to begin with. At least I don't think so. So we probably won't ever find out. But then the bug lookalike Shinju says that when he looks at Code's disgraceful self, that he ends up feeling relief. So they're just throwing more insult at Code. I'm telling you guys, Code is either just going to go out a sore loser, which is looking quite likely right now, or right now might be a good time to actually invest in some Code stock and maybe see what could be probably one of the biggest villain comebacks of all time if somehow they write him to get that. I don't know if he's really going to get something like that, but they did keep him around in the story, so they probably do have a purpose for him. So I'm going to give a benefit of the doubt here because this is Kishimoto, and we do know Kishimoto cooks, especially when it comes to writing villains. So Kishimoto and Ikimoto, I'm going to trust that you guys have some sort of plan for Code, but I'm not going to lie, the list of L's has gone on so long that I don't know what Code's really going to have to do to redeem himself at this point. Code has honestly lost so much aura, especially compared to where Code was at when we first saw him and everything. It's not even a fair comparison at this point. But anyway, the next part is Code pretty much says okay to the request and that this is pretty much a contract task. Jura responds by saying he wonders where destiny will take Code. Code says the one who will be laughing at the end is him. So he does leave while making a threat, which does make me think maybe there's a chance he does do something down the line that might be actually decent. But I'm not getting my hopes too high. But at some point, guys, you just kind of feel bad for a character. Code sucks as a person for sure. So don't get me wrong, I don't feel bad for Code at all. I just feel like how he's been written, you would feel bad for a character taking that many L's. But Code is honestly a piece of crap as a person, so I don't think we should be feeling too bad for him, you know. But anyway, so Ryu asks Jura after Code leaves if he can kill Code the next time he sees him. And Jura says, sure, if that's what your freedom allows. That's pretty much what he's saying. So that kind of gives an indication that he doesn't really care about the contract, but maybe if he really did take out Boruto and Koji, maybe Jura would honor it. Potentially. Jura says what's more important right now is Ryu's instincts. Who is the face of the target you should be devouring? Ryu reveals, which this is pretty obvious in my opinion, Ryu reveals that his target is the 5th Kazekage, Gaara, and that the technique that sealed him can be released by him. So, now the whole thing of Shinki protecting Gaara is going to go to waste in a way, because now it's pretty much almost confirmed, I think, that we're going to get some sort of rescue Gaara arc or rescue the Sand Village arc coming up soon, because now there's some indication that Shinki could go back to the site where Gaara is at, and he could pretty much end up, devouring him, because his instincts are wanting to devour Gaara of all people. So I think that could be where we're heading story-wise, so we might head to the Sand Village, which is something I'd prefer us to do because it'd be a good change of scenery. We then switch over scenes to Boruto. This is pretty much the last act of the chapter. And we're switching over to Boruto, who's sitting by himself on the Naruto Hokage face. And honestly, the panel of this I really, really liked. I wish I could show it in this one, but I mean, this is a different kind of video. But when you guys see it when the chapter comes out, or whether you see leaks, you'll know what I mean. Really good panel. Makes you definitely feel for Boruto. A little bit later, Kawaki shows up, and Boruto asks him if he's alone. Kawaki responds by saying yes, but Ida is probably watching them. Kawaki asks why Boruto didn't tell the people of Konoha the truth. Boruto responds by saying that it won't lead to anything good, and it's only going to create division and confusion. Boruto says that no matter what happens, that he has acquired a strength now that does not waver thanks to his master. Really shout out to Sasuke there, and shout out to Boruto too. He really, as you can see, really loves Sasuke. Shows a lot of respect to him. Has credited him multiple times, even in the flashback form when we had Boruto when he was training with Koji, to even now. You can definitely tell he really cares for Sasuke and really wants to get to that point of rescuing him. Kawaki asks what happened to Momoshiki, and this is a great question, and it's a big question, because I'm sure a lot of the readers have been wondering this, because we haven't been getting much mention of Momoshiki in the slightest. The only thing we really got about Momoshiki is that Boruto's not using the karma right now. So that's the only thing we could have connected to it up until at this point. So Kawaki says he's asking because from what he saw earlier, Boruto could not control his karma, which is true. So Boruto says that about 2 years ago, when Sasuke and him fought Code, that he felt the sensation of being taken over by Momoshiki. Boruto says that he is no longer himself, a sensation of dying while maintaining consciousness. Since then, he has never used karma once. So this must be a new sensation, I think, Boruto's talking about here, because he's referring to Momoshiki taking over, and I think the way he's implying it in this situation could be as in he's completely taking over, not like the previous times where he gained control a little bit just because Boruto lost consciousness or something of the sort like that. This is more so as in when Boruto has that karma going, that Momoshiki is straight up taken over. So Kawaki asks why did that happen though in that instance with Code, because Momoshiki's supposedly been quiet the last 3 years. Boruto says that the possibility of him coming out is likely due to the activation of karma now. So that's what Momoshiki's being linked to. We're not really getting, I guess, much instances of Momoshiki appearing during that time skip span then. Perhaps he didn't appear at all because Boruto was avoiding using that karma, it sounds like, no matter what. So maybe Momoshiki's been on the low and he's plotting something too, perhaps. But this is the reason why Boruto is scared to use the karma, because as we saw from that one instance, he can't really control it. Boruto tells Kawaki that the Shinju are tough and that he needs Kawaki's strength to deal with them. And this is big because Boruto's accepting that, hey, I know I'm pretty strong myself, but if there's one guy that has the potential to really help me out in the situation against them, it's Kawaki. And some people I know aren't going to like this because they just don't like how Kawaki has treated Boruto and how he wants to kill him and everything. But Boruto is looking past that in this situation, and plus we also know Boruto wants to try making up with Kawaki as well. So I can see why Boruto would take action like this. Kawaki tells him that they aren't done talking about Momoshiki and to not dodge the question. Boruto says that it's important to take down the Shinjus first. He says after that, if he runs out of control, that Kawaki can kill him. Boruto says either way, though, that Kawaki needs to get stronger. And, this is hard facts that Boruto is hitting Kawaki with. Kawaki does need to level up if he wants to be on that level to compete with the Shinju. And I just think it's an important thing anyway because Kawaki is, I feel like, paralleling a time skip that is very similar to Naruto's, where Boruto is paralleling more so Sasuke. Bigger leap during the time skip span, but throughout this period of time, Kawaki is going to get more of his power up happening, I'd say, as we gradually go on arc to arc. Naruto says, "You're my dad's student. Originally, you were supposed to free Naruto from the seal, which would have been the most ideal situation for training. Now this is seen as unrealistic because it will take too much time." So I do want to talk about this a little bit too. Imagine, guys, the possibility of Naruto actually training Kawaki for those 3 years. Kawaki would probably be a beast. Even with the reveal of what comes later on that I'm going to talk about in this chapter, Kawaki would be honestly on a pretty different level right now, though, for sure. But I feel like something that shouldn't be overlooked either is Naruto too. If Naruto himself is also training for 3 years, Naruto's probably going to get a decent bit stronger too. Again, I don't know if he's going to be at this Shinju relevant level. Probably not without a new form or something. But Naruto would have probably gotten stronger too. Kawaki though for sure because of how big his potential is. Boruto says that pretty much that he'll tell Kawaki now is the conclusion that Kawaki will reach on his own, whether that be sooner or later. And he says to confront Amado because the conclusion is that Amado is hiding Kawaki's power. Now this is a big reveal because it's revealed that Kawaki has a limiter placed on him by Amado for his attack and defense capability as well as his regeneration capability. So this is huge because that might be what's been slowing Kawaki down from progressing. Kawaki realistically should have gotten at least a little bit stronger during the time skip, but it seems like he's near the level of what he was before, maybe slightly stronger beyond that. But 3 years is a lot of time. I feel like Kawaki should have gotten stronger in the time skip, at least a bit more than what they've shown. So this is a good way for them to explain that. And this does, again, bring back the question, if Naruto was training Kawaki, we probably would have reached this conclusion sooner, because Kawaki would have confronted Amado sooner because he would have noticed his strength's not going anywhere. And if he didn't notice it, Naruto would have noticed, and this would have been a conversation brought up. So that's why I see what Boruto meant by that. So pretty much Amado is wondering now where Boruto got this information from, because he's listening in and is thinking that no one would be able to stop Kawaki if he was killed, hence the limiter. Plus, I'm sure Amado has his own selfish reasons, but I'm sure he's thinking that too, of, who would be able to stop him if he was killed and the limiter was off. Because Amado at least has the code for him, I believe. So, Amado then remembers the toad, and then he realizes that Kashin Koji is alive, and now he's wondering how he could be alive and what his purpose is at the moment. Boruto tells Kawaki that Amado needs Kawaki's karma for his own use, and that's the reason why Boruto was expecting an attack by the code that's embedded within Kawaki to ensure that Kawaki would not die when he first, pulled up on Boruto a couple pages back. So that's crazy what Boruto's expecting versus what's going on, and now Kawaki getting this actual realization. Kawaki says that he still hasn't changed his mind on Otsutsuki's, and he says that they are the root of evil. However, he does also think that the Shinjus would be a good start to everything. He also says that they all need to disappear, including himself, and including Boruto. So pretty much, the final page or two, we get Kawaki saying that he'll team up with Boruto, and that he'll catch up to Boruto soon enough. And then the final page of the chapter was hilarious to me. The chapter ended with Boruto saying, "You better not hold me back, bro." And Kawaki called him a bastard back. So that's how we ended off chapter 15. Honestly, just based off the spoilers itself, I like the pacing of everything going on. We hit a lot of different fronts, just like we have in the last couple chapters. So I'm pretty happy that things have been going that way. So overall, let me know what you guys thought of everything. Hopefully you guys did enjoy these full spoilers. Let me know what your favorite part was. I'll definitely make a review on this in the coming days. I believe the chapter this month drops either the 19th or the 20th. So one of those 2 days I should have a review out, hopefully. And I'm excited to talk about it and excited to read the official version. Definitely be sure to support the official version, guys, because it'll show that Boruto is getting the support from a lot of people, and Boruto's been doing good, don't get me wrong, but it wouldn't hurt to get a few more eyes on it as well. So definitely support it officially, even if you do like watching my videos in this format. So definitely do that still as well if you can. But anyway, yeah, that's it for the full spoilers. I do want to talk about one more thing before I wrap it up, and that's the fact that we're getting this team up, which I think is pretty exciting, because I feel like this is a necessity for them to actually be able to take out the Shinjus, because everybody else power scale wise isn't really on that level. They can contribute to the fights for sure, but I don't think they can do anything definitive when it comes to the really big dogs of what the Shinju might bring. But I'm happy that we got this interaction. This was something that I feel like was needed, and it kind of shows us where Kawaki's mind is at. It shows us where Boruto's mind is at, and now it'll be interesting to see what Amado has to say as well about this limiter stuff. That might be something we address soon, as well as a potential arc where we go to the Sand Village to help out Gaara from this Shinju situation. So that's going to be it for this one, though. If you guys did enjoy the video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel if you guys are new. And as always, I hope you guys have a good day or night whenever you guys are watching this video. I'm Rewinds, and I'm out.